Hello Lions fans and welcome to Friday, the day before our big pineapple grapple, I refuse to call it the Q Clash, against the Gold Coast Suns. We have to make some force changes to our bloody team, and our bloody defence is bloody depleted again. But guess bloody what? Bloody Al McGovern and bloody Deborah Smith are joining me now to take a bloody look at the bloody team. Al, how are we? I just pitched your line.
I'm good, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, look, much better this stage of the week myself. Been a bit of a wild ride, I must admit. How about yourself?
Pretty ordinary for myself. Not so much out of the ordinary to report, thankfully, which is pretty good. Just normal family stuff, normal work stuff. And how about yourself?
Yeah, just, you know how it is.
Just cruising along?
Yeah, just trying to be an adult and failing miserably at times and
as we all do.
Succeeding greatly at other times. And let me just say, I can give you a grand total of 43 people love me and 67 people hugged me on Monday. So,
wow, popular man.
Yeah, well, they're all related to me. So, what do you do? The joys of the only time you ever get to catch up with your whole entire family is when someone gets married or someone dies, and only one of those things happens. So that's life.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, Deb, you're here. How are you going?
Hi Ash, hi Al. Oh, it's been a week.
Hello.
It's been a very big week for you.
It has. A couple of visits to the emergency department with a family member, so not anywhere near as fun as I would have liked it to be, but I think we're going to be okay. It's just going to be sore and sorry for himself for quite a while.
Yeah, no, look, as I've said a million times to you already, and you're probably sick of me saying it, well, love and thoughts and prayers and everything else go to your family and yourself. So,
thank you.
Yeah,
take all the credit for it. I did nothing. I just sat in there,
the
waiting room chairs. So you know
what, you were there, and that's the most important thing.
That's true.
Showing up is half of
it. Showing up is probably 90% of it because a lot of people don't.
That's true.
We'll just give a shout out. He's probably not going to listen, but I'm pretty sure my brother-in-law has won son-in-law of the year or decade for what he did on.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Went and did the whole family thing because a couple of us couldn't get quite there and near enough. So thanks to Tim.
That's why your sister married him, because he's a bloody legend.
Legend.
And we bloody love him.
Yep.
So, all of our introductions aside and all our little bits and pieces, I think Deb's just frozen on us, so just wait for her to come back. Or have I frozen on you guys?
No, I think it's just Deb, mate.
All right. Well, and if it looks weird that I keep putting my hands on my biceps, I'm not trying to feel my muscles. Although they are quite large. No, I'm joking. I'm trying to cover up the Neds logos on my Lions shirt.
Oh, God. What an error that was, right?
Nearly as good as that software company, the startup software company we had for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, for a preseason.
Yeah, and I actually fielded a couple of inquiries. Well, Deb's gone. She'll be back in a sec, I'm assuming. So until Deb comes back, yeah, I fielded a couple of inquiries from a couple of people that have seen one or two of the videos that Deb and I have put together, asking about, and I'm going to move so you can see it. There's a Guernsey next to my Fitzroy Guernsey hanging up behind me.
Yeah.
And they wanted to know which club it is. So they thought it might have been Moreton Bay or maybe a Victorian club. It's actually the University of Birmingham Lions from, ironically, Birmingham in the Midlands of England, based just down the road from Edgbaston, the Test match cricket venue.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and they're one of the big Aussie rules football clubs in the United Kingdom, and do a hell of a lot of work for charity as well. Good bunch of folks, and a bit hard to understand their accents sometimes, being from the Midlands. But yeah,
I'm sure they think the same about us. No, it's good to hear that they're a good group and they do a lot of charity work. That's good to hear.
Yeah, it's funny because I've been chatting to a few cricket clubs over in the United Kingdom because my young fella's going to head over there in a couple of years. And I was talking to the president of a club based in London, Dev's back, and he said to me, "You know the great thing about having an Aussie on the phone line with me right now, and what's that, mate? Other than the fact that I'm an Aussie." He goes, "Finally, I can speak to someone who speaks English." What the bloody hell are you talking about? He goes, "Everyone else that wants to come and play for my cricket club is from the north, and none of them speak English. I can't understand a word they're saying." And mate, they're speaking English. You just have a different accent to them. So, right now down to business. And this is not fun and games, this part.
Oh.
So we copped a bit of a roast about a couple of recent what was referred to as attacks on Laura Kane. We've all had a bit to say about her at different times. And I'm copping this and I'm wearing it. I'm not pointing fingers at anyone or making any blame because I'm the producer. I make the final call, what goes in the final cut. And I decide what people get to hear and don't hear. So the buck stops with me. Now, we were a lot ill-informed about Laura Kane's credentials, her background, and that's not for me to give all those details out, but she's a hell of a lot more credentialed and qualified than what any of us realised. And don't worry, we're not going to cop a Toby Bedford-style reprimand. But I do have a couple of mutual friends of Laura Kane through the women's football scene, and two of them were very scathing of me, so to my face.
Ooh.
So,
okay.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, Laura Kane is not above criticism. I'm going to say that right now, and I said that to them at the time. If there's something that needs criticising for anybody in football, we will say it. We're not the sort of podcast that's just going to sugarcoat everything, and we are not the sort of podcast that's just going to read out the positive feedback and say, screw you guys who call us out on stuff that we get wrong. Yep. If we get it wrong, we get it wrong. And ultimately, as I said, the buck stops with me. So thank you to the two people. In fact, three people had a chat to me about Laura Kane, all from the same mutual friendship group. And two of them were very, very straight to the point. And I could not sit down for a day afterwards. Let me give you the tip.
Well, my criticisms of her were never really, about her specifically or her background. It was more criticizing the role. I mean, you become a public figure, you put yourself out there for that kind of stuff, and and I don't think we said anything overly disrespectful. I think we made some critiques and decisions that she's made in her professional role. So I don't think there was too much that we did too wrong.
Yeah,
I probably said some stuff, but I apologize, and to the listeners who are mutual friends with her, I am sorry. But at the same time, the fact that they're not widely known is probably more of a criticism of the AFL. They keep saying transparency. Well, I wouldn't say we're regular punters. I'd like to say all three of us are quite switched on when it comes to the world of footy. if none of us knew about it, that says a lot. So I am sorry if I stepped over any lines, and apologies for that, but it doesn't make the criticism of what's happening in the role, which isn't necessarily just Laura's fault, any less valuable because we may have said something to do with her credentials.
Yeah, but equally as critical of Andrew Dillon as well, to be fair.
Yes. 1,000%. And look, as I said, there's no pointing of fingers. There's no blame here. I make the final call, and whatever goes into the final cut, it's my call. I chose to leave that in. In a couple, probably 3 or 4 episodes, we've said a few things, and I copped a slap on the wrist for saying that I loved her and then dropped her in the same episode. And I think Dev's dropped out again, but she'll be back. So, yeah, look, and my criticism is of some of the things Laura Kane does say and do in the media and not directly towards her personally. I think she's being controlled by people above her. And I would assume that if she did get to say what she personally wanted to say, it would be a hell of a lot different to what her masters are telling her to say. So, yeah, we'll move on from that. And while we're waiting for Deb to come back in, Al, do you want to just have a crack at the what's in the mailbag?
Yeah, sure, definitely. So we've had a bit of feedback this week, mostly good, apart from the one that we just touched on. So a lot of people message in, particularly on Facebook and things like that. So I'll just read off some of those now. Also, just wanted to mention, we chucked a picture of a lion scarf flapping around outside the window of a car on Facebook and asked you guys to guess which game it was. The only clue we gave was that it wasn't in the last 5 seasons. Nobody got the correct answer, but Val Jankin was very clued in and got the location of Sydney Road, Campbellfield correct, which was pretty great.
Yeah,
some pretty switched on people out there.
Yeah, and just after I gave you the list of stuff from the mailbag, our good friend Rebecca did chime in. She was the nearest to the pin. She was out by a year, but she got the opponent of Essendon correct.
Yep.
And
of course, the actual game was Essendon at Marvel Stadium in 2016, which we won convincingly. And Ash made half a dozen memes about Lepper keeping his job, which was pretty funny and aged pretty well.
Come on, tell the listeners what you said to me in Messenger the other day about those memes.
Oh, jeez.
Can you remember? Or I remember it because you know me. I'm like
you go for it. I know what I said, but you go for
it. Those memes aged like milk on a shelf.
That's exactly right.
It was one of those games because that was the year Essendon had 34 players out, or there was 34 current and former Essendon players out, and they had all those fill-in players, and they were terrible. Like they'd only won 1, maybe 2 games at the most by that stage of the season. And they were playing us, who had only won 2 games to that stage of the season, and 44,000 people turned up to Marvel Stadium.
Pretty rare scenario that whole Essendon thing. Obviously, we know we don't have to go into details about it.
Yeah,
but the fact that they had so few players available, we haven't really seen anything like that in a while. Maybe COVID going through West Coast and then having to debut some waffle guys that they didn't even know the names of.
Yeah, and so, the Essendon fans thought that they were going to see a win that day, and Eric Hipwood kicked a couple of goals. What's his name again? Liam Dawson kicked a few from memory, including one backwards over his head. And Ruben Williams, as I keep famously mentioning, ran around trying to belt the living crap out of Anthony McDonald, Tip and Woody all day.
I had such high hopes for Liam Dawson. I genuinely thought he was going to be a pretty good player for us. Yeah,
look, he's a bloody talented footballer. Obviously, I mean, he's making Team of the Year every year in the Quaffle since.
Yeah.
Well, in the NEAFL and more recently the Quaffle after the NEAFL was disbanded, and even more sort of recently, I think he was made captain of last year. Might have been captain or vice captain of the Quaffle Team of the Year. So, yeah, and a really nice guy, and his mum Bev is a lovely lady as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, Deborah, have we got you back?
I am sorry. I'm having some Wi-Fi issues at home, so fun.
You must live near the Gabba.
No. It's. I thought it was fixed. They're doing some upgrades in the area, so they said it would be back on by 6, but it's clearly not working properly. So that's okay.
Maybe they're working on daylight savings time. Even then, it would be 6:20.
Queenslanders don't believe in daylight savings. Very frustrating.
Bloody banana benders.
Hey,
Anyway, you're outnumbered, mate. I'm an honorary Victorian, and we've got an actual Victorian in the chat.
all right. I'm taking my palmy and I'm leaving.
Hey, I still call it a palmy too, but I will fight you over calling it a potato cake versus a potato scallop.
Ew.
I suppose you're going to drink beer out of a midi as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ain't wrong. Ain't broke, don't fix it, mate.
That's it. All right. Well, you want to get back into the mailbag? Just run through that quickly, mate, if you can.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I just touched on that. And so Damien Earl on Facebook. What a game that was. One of the best so far this season. Sydney were brave, but you can't keep a lion down. Looking forward to Chapter 2 come finals. Go Lions 2024.
I reckon it was the game of the season.
Oh, yeah. I was telling you before the game, I was like, this one's it's got a special feel about it. It's going to be remembered one way or another.
Yeah, there was massive swings, roundabouts, ebbs, flows, and momentum changes like you wouldn't believe. And it was worthy of a grand final.
It was everything you want a good football game to be.
Yeah, for sure. And Mobile Car Sound on Facebook. Sydney had half their best injured and lost 2 before halftime. A full Sydney team would have been a different story. We got lucky to win by 2 points at home. Yeah, potentially. Don't know if I completely agree with that. I mean, they weren't playing particularly well, but they didn't have a huge amount of injuries. They were only one down on the bench, really.
As was pointed.
Sorry, you go, Ash.
Oh, sorry, yeah. As was pointed out to him, her, they, I'm not sure, because it's just a business name. When Sydney had 23 fit players available, we were 4 goals up pretty quickly. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, make of that what you will.
That's no excuse. We still managed to beat Gold Coast, and we'd lost 3 players, including 4 if you include Starcevic in the lead up before 2 minutes into the second quarter. So that's not an excuse. Number one. Number two, it wasn't like we were completely clear of injuries too. Dane Zorko was out for a bit in the first quarter. Shadow Brain was out for a bit as well. Like Harris was out for almost all of the fourth quarter. It's not like we were perfectly non-injured team either.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, agree with all that.
And of course, obviously, after the game, there was a bit more of a fallout injury-wise, which we'll touch on a bit later. So Karen Stokes on Facebook, the lid is well and truly off. I agree with you, Karen. I have never been to a game like that. Felt like a grand final.
It felt so much like, and just like for like, so I've been to several grand finals. It had the same intensity of the grand final we played in last year, but I feel like if you're going to compare it directly to another game, it felt so much like the Tigers elimination final that we won when Joe kicked that goal in the final minute. Like just the back and forth of it, the roller coaster of emotions, the insanity of the sound at the Gabba, just...
Yeah, it was pretty wild coming through the TV. So, Deb, I've got to ask you a question relating to the grand final. I was asked by a listener because they want to know whereabouts you sat at the grand final because they think they spotted you.
Oh, really? I was in the MCC members on level 4, pretty much directly in front of where Kiss was performing.
Yeah.
About a third of the way up there.
Yeah, I thought you were sort of in that section area within reason because you had a photo of the stage when Kiss were playing that was looking front on, and where I was directly side on at one of the goal ends. So, yeah, no, they thought they might have spotted you, but they were a couple of levels down, so you've got a doppelganger. That's not your sister.
They might have, so we went down for a couple of drinks pre the game, sort of in the basement below ground level of the members. So we were down there for a bit. So she might have been me.
Yeah.
But whoever the listener is, if they're an MCC member, let me know and maybe we can catch up when I'm down for the Collingwood game in a couple of weeks.
They're not an MCC member, but
then they definitely wouldn't have seen me.
They will be sitting with me at the Collingwood game, so there's a fair chance you can ask them exactly where they were sitting when you come over to see me. All right, let's get back into the bag.
So Simon Island on Facebook says, still a bunch of matches to go. Even Sons of Metricon will be hard. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, eh?
Mm.
Yep.
I think that's fair, but you've got to have some fun, get involved, get in the moment, let the excitement take over.
Who doesn't love a picture of a muscular lion spraying champagne everywhere?
That's exactly right. Yeah, no, he's got a valid point, but let's have some excitement. Come on. Linda Fitzpatrick on Facebook. Hopefully we can. Hopefully can break the Suns' winning streak at the home ground. Yeah, that'll be an interesting one. So obviously they haven't lost this year at home, and they haven't won away from home. So they're a bit of a weird oddity this season, the Suns.
Yeah, we got bumped when we went down there last year.
And that's let's go on.
I was just going to say. So I'm like, I'm not keen to have a revisit of that because that was heartbreaking to watch live. So, boys, you're not allowed to do that again.
Yeah, we've seen the West Australian teams do that home and away, Jekyll and Hyde act a fair bit over the years too. In fact, I can't remember, it was in the early 2000s, West Coast actually made the finals without winning an away game for the entire season. Might have been 01 or 02, thereabouts. Yeah. Anyway.
So, two more. Natalie Lockwood, great episode today. Thanks for getting it on air so quickly. And
you're welcome.
And Christopher Chen, Apple Podcast working. Woohoo! Can't wait to listen to this one on the way home from work. So yeah, we were having some problems with Apple, but that seems to be resolved now, and we're trying to get them out as quickly as we can too.
Yep. So the I did allude to there was a problem with the distributor that I'm now using. And what it was the conversion format that they were using with the audio files actually was not compatible with Apple's service. So it was coming through. It distributes RSS feeds to Apple, iHeart, Spotify, and a few other lesser known podcasting platforms as well. And they were just compatible with every one of them except for Apple. So lesson learned. And thank you to, and I can't recall your name, but I did have a live tech chat with an Apple help desk person. So
you could say that we'll take the learnings. There's some good learnings to come out of that one. We'll take the 4 points and we'll move on.
We don't lose, we learn.
That's it. That's the mailbag. Thanks for everyone reaching out. We'd love to hear from you. So wherever you're listening to this, if you could leave us a like, leave a comment, rate us on a platform that you listen on, all that sort of stuff. It all helps. So we appreciate it. And we appreciate everyone that reaches out to us.
Yeah.
And someone did reach out. They're a listener of both the shows that Deb and I do. And their name's Corn Dogger. And we got in trouble for thinking they were a boy.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
What have you done?
One's gender, that was very bad of us.
Her name's actually Cornelia, and she corrected me on that. So.
That's a great name, though, the Corn Dog.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Corn Dog. We still love you no matter what your gender is, because it's 2024. We love everyone.
Of course.
Yep.
Corn Dog's that's a sick nickname, by the way.
It is.
Quietly.
That is such a good nickname.
Some of the names of people who send us feedback on that show is just, interesting. Anyway, shall we get into the teams?
Let's do that.
Let's do it.
All right. Deb, you get into our ins, and Al, you can do our outs, and I'll look after the coasters.
Sure. You want to do the ins first, Deb?
Yep. So we've got 3 ins this week. So Connor McKenna comes back in from being managed last week. We have Logan Morris back in. Managed. Did I get enough sarcasm on the managed? So Logan Morris comes back in after kicking 4 goals in the VFL last week.
Yep.
And very excitingly, Jackson Pryor has been named, and he had about 31 odd disposals in the VFL. Every single one of them a kick, which I just thought was the coolest little weird stat. So giving that a shout out.
I think this is his second senior game of the season.
Yes, yep. So he's coming in to bolster our defensive stocks because we desperately need that.
Yeah.
Logan's coming in, I presume, to play that second tall forward role to allow either Hippie or Danaher up back because of the very big outs we have.
And when I do the Suns team, I'll give a little thought on Henry Smith.
Interesting. So I'll start with my outs. So Bruce Rebel's been omitted, but I suspect that he probably will still end up being the sub somehow. They do weird things like that with the subs. Dara Joyce is out. So he was a really late out. After just a couple of days after the game ended, turned out he had a fractured jaw. I can't even pinpoint when that might have happened during the game. But was it a hairline fracture or a compound fracture? I think if he has a compound fracture on your jaw's just gone.
Yeah, no, I was just taking the P155 out of myself last episode.
Yeah, and then obviously Harris Andrews ruled out for hopefully just 1 week with a concussion. So that was a weird one. He got tested, passed the test, came back on, and then allegedly got hit again and then failed the test again. So, yeah, that was a weird one, and the media's been talking about that all week. But we went from, having a couple of our key defenders out, Jack Payne and whatnot, and kind of getting Jared Joyce in to make do, and now he's gone, and now Harris is gone. So we've literally got like 5 out of 6 of our key defenders on our list injured at the moment.
Ryan, our only recognised key defender.
So we got Zane Zakaselsky as well, but I noticed that with his lack of inclusion, they clearly don't think he's up to it. He's very raw and
he's a work in progress.
For sure. Well, I think he was injured for most of the preseason, then he debuted pretty late in the VFL, so they clearly don't want to take a risk on him. So they're going to do some tricky stuff and shift the magnets and make some guys play out of position, I would imagine.
Yeah, and he didn't play a lot of senior football at Claremont last year. He was mostly in the Colts and mostly playing as a ruckman anyway. So, and like a guy that size in the Colts is, obviously he's going to play as a ruckman. So him as a key defender, he has done it in the past prior to getting drafted, but not a lot. So that's still a work in progress, and he'll get there because he's got some bloody good key defenders around him to learn from, hasn't he?
Yeah, and he's obviously a very, very long-term project. I don't think we'll see much out of that one for maybe a couple of seasons potentially.
Yeah,
it's like same as like ruckman. They just take a while.
Yeah, well, that's it. And our first choice ruckman was a late maturer himself, and look at him go now,
club champion.
Yeah.
Well, not even the big guys. Look at Dane Zorko, who didn't get, a lookout for his draft year of his first couple of years and is now one of our most consistent best performers this year.
Yeah, looking to go around again.
Yeah. I reckon if Zorks was the height of an adult, he probably would have been drafted in his draft year.
Jeez, you're brutal.
Love you, Dane. And have a house full of your merchandise. So that's proof that I do love you. You're just not as tall as me.
He's not as tall as either of your kids either, is he?
I've got photographic proof of that. So. So I guess I'll get into the Suns.
Sure.
Yep.
Couple of ironic changes in their team. So the first one is Thomas Berry is back, and they're calling him Thomas, not Tom or Tommy.
Former Brisbane Lion, obviously.
Yeah, obviously they needed him to be available so he could pose with the trophy with his brother Jared.
Yep.
In the lead up. Speaking of Jared Witts, their skipper. I think he's still their skipper. One of the biggest men in the world physically is back.
Yep.
And this is where I'll bring in the Henry Smith thing. So I think with Ned Moyle being in such good form for the Suns while Witts was out, and then with Witts coming back in, and I reckon our guys would have known Witts was ready to come back.
Yep.
They've kept Henry in because obviously the other two big keys are going to be maybe chopping and changing a bit. So we need to have the two, I guess, recognised ruckmen in the team to combat those two guys. So I think if it was a 50-50 call between Henry Smith and someone else, he got the nod because he's tall and can play in the ruck.
Plus, Logan can come in and play essentially their second tall forward role because despite the fact he's not quite as tall, he's very much got that capability.
Yeah, absolutely. And, he aerially is really strong as well for a young guy.
I'm glad Henry gets another chance to prove himself. I'm glad he didn't get dropped, and I think mainly because of his height that he probably did get another chance. But I love to see it.
We'll take a bit of height anyway.
I'll take it.
Yeah, and look, I'm putting my coach's hat on, not literally because I'm wearing a 2022 members beanie. It's actually cold where I live. So you Queenslanders, when you tell me it's cold, you don't know cold till you come down here in the middle of July.
Is it like 22 down there?
Oh, no. It's more like minus 22, mate. This is like being back in the homelands of Scandinavia and Eastern Europe.
Or looking over the fjord, a nasty fjord.
When I'm wearing
it's cold.
When I'm wearing long sleeves and a beanie, it's bloody cold. So Malcolm Roses is back for the Suns. He had his 1 week suspension that should have been 3 for elbowing a bloke, but as has been proven, you can elbow a bloke in the face or the head or the neck, and the AFL don't give a rat's toss bag.
It's not just an elbow; you can punch him straight in and still get off.
Yeah. Yeah, that's and interestingly, I don't know the exact figures, but when we had a whinge about the tribunal a couple of episodes ago, that has absolutely, from what I can see, been our most comprehensively popular episode. And the fact that people who aren't Lions fans are contacting me to talk about it shows that it's getting around. People are looking at it and going, well, yeah, these guys are saying what we all think.
Yeah.
I'm happy about the tribunal any day of the week. And not just of our players. I'm very happy to have a comprehensive whinge on all fronts, because you can't tell me that they were so concerned that Charlie was 3 weeks and Toby was 3 weeks last week, and then Ben Keys doesn't even get a fine. Like, nothing came out of the Essendon Adelaide game.
Yeah, and
Knox or when not?
I think Willie Rioli might have knocked a bloke in the head earlier in the season and no case to answer. But Sam Powell-Pepper, I was going to say Petreski-Seaton, but no, Sam Powell-Pepper, I should know. He played for East Perth, my buddy Waffle team, previously. That was a 50-50 call. I mean, I'm not a big fan of him as a footballer, but I don't think that deserved the weeks he got, probably maybe 1 or 2. So I think he got 4 in the end. So, the inconsistency is bloody crazy.
And I will back this up and say I was absolutely gobsmacked, and I'm glad it's not, because given the injuries that we've had to Darren Harris, but I'm absolutely gobsmacked Hippie wasn't a week.
Yeah, I'm pretty surprised by that too. I don't think it ended up, I don't think it should have, but I'm surprised that they didn't just chuck one at him.
Yeah, him and Goulden probably realistically going on what the consistency of the tribunal has been over the last couple of years. Probably should have got a week each.
Bez, the tunneled Bez.
Yeah.
So I was shocked that both of those. So this isn't just me harping on about things that impact the Lions, and everything should go the Lions' ways. I'm as a fan, I'm so grateful he's playing this week. As someone that loves AFL, probably shouldn't be.
Yeah, look, obviously as a Lions fan, I'm grateful that Eric Hipwood's available and not suspended. And just as a general football fan, I mean, Errol Gordon's obviously one of the best players in the comp, and you want to see the best players in the comp playing every week. Which brings me to, we have a little bit of a conspiracy here.
Ooh.
Do you think Hippie got off a suspension because there's no way they were going to suspend Goulden, being a possible Brownlow favourite?
Not after.
Not after what happened with Heaney.
But they copped a lot of backlash over that.
Well, all you have to go back to is the 2017 when Dustin Martin won his Brownlow. So Dangerfield got suspended. was it round 16 or 17?
Oh, no, it was one of the last couple of rounds, I think. It's
Yeah.
like within the last 4 rounds, yeah.
Martin played against us the next week, and absolutely every day of the week should have been suspended out of that game.
Was that for the eye gouging?
Was it I can't even remember what the incident was.
Yeah, he eye gouged Nick Robertson at one point and got a fine for it.
But should have been suspended, and I reckon would have been suspended, but for the fact that Dangerfield got suspended the week before, because they were the two clear outliers for the Brownlow that year. And then mysteriously after Dangerfield's suspension, he didn't get any Brownlow votes. So Dustin became the automatic winner, sort of, even though there were games post that suspension that Danger should have polled in for Brownlow votes.
Yeah, like the one where he got about 36 and kicked 3 and got 0 votes.
Yep. So
See?
They have a history of doing it.
We do love a conspiracy. Like when the rules are changed for Nat Fyfe, who got 3 or 4 fines in a year for punching people.
And they got rid of the 3-strike rule.
Yeah, because guys actually got 3 strikes and had to miss a week, and there was an uproar.
I was about to say, where's the 3-strike rule this year?
No, it's gone.
Like, he's up 30,000 in fines now.
Oh, yeah. Butters is getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't it the whole, that's a 10,000 fine, the next one's going to be a suspension, and then he got 2 separate fines in the game on the weekend?
See, we're going down rabbit holes with this conspiracy theory of ours.
I could talk about the MRO for hours.
All right, well, before you do,
we might need to start a separate show just complaining about the MRO.
Yeah, what was funny, Michael Christian's son, Nicky, made his VFL debut for Collingwood 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Imagine if he had done a dangerous tackle.
I know. But
I feel like I've already brought that up on this show, so let's not discuss it any further.
A little bit funny. You know what? We should get is it Toby Green from the Giants on the podcast?
Toby Bedford. No, Tom Green.
Tom Green.
Yeah. That's who I was talking about before.
The AFL for calling the MRO into question. Not wrong.
That's who I was talking about before when my backside was still stinging from the getting the booty from not the booty, but the boot from Laura Kane's friends.
Yeah.
Don't think. No, I'm not going there. So anyway, the Suns have 3 players out. They have Alex Sexton omitted and back in the old days of the old pineapple grapples, and as I said in my intro, I don't call it the Q clash. Alex Sexton had some really ripper games against us, and they won a couple of those games. A little bit of an interesting thing.
Did he win the Ashcroft medal one year?
Oh, I can't recall, but I remember he kicked 3 or 4 a couple of times.
He was their best forward for a good couple of years there.
Yeah, and I really actually liked the cut of his jib back then, but he's kind of dropped off. Connor Buderick, future Brisbane Lions player, and we all know what's going to happen. Why do you think we recruited his brother?
It's cooking. It's in the works.
He got omitted, ironically. Maybe he doesn't want his future teammates to rough him up a bit, because you know that's going to happen. And the other one is, and this is almost like Dimmer Hardwick looked at us and thought, oh, my old mate Chris Fagan, who I used to work with at the Hawks, he's having a bit of trouble with key defenders, so I'm going to drop the biggest key forward I've got in my team, physically all round, not in height, Jed Walter, to give them a bit of a leg up.
That makes no sense.
I would have, if I was Dimmer, I would have been playing Jed Walter, absolutely, just to have a bigger body there, because who's going to play on him? Brandon Starcevic?
I would have played every single tall in our list.
He could actually lean his elbow on top of Starce's head. He's a big man.
We're just saying something, because Starce isn't short himself.
No, he'd be in the mid-180s, I reckon.
The lineups this week are going to be, for both teams, just fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to see what both team actually land with, because obviously what's written down right now is not going to be what's going to happen.
Well, I think I haven't got the full team list in front of me, but I was looking before, and the Suns have got Mac Andrew, my boy, Sam Collins and their other big key defender, all across one line.
Yep.
Down back. But, they've got obviously still Ben King in the team. He's having a pretty good year. But I don't think Joe Danaher's lining up on Ben King despite what the team list actually says.
Yeah, that is a little funny.
It'll be interesting to see who does line up on him, though, because we don't actually have. Wouldn't it be funny if it was a big O and Henry Smith starts in the ruck? Yeah.
And I'm not usually one to look too much into the umpire selected for the game, but I must mention that my least favourite umpire has been selected for this game, Matthew Nichols, number 15.
Bloody Nichols.
I don't like him. I'm sure he's a great bloke. I got nothing to say about him personally, but I just don't like the way he personally umpires games. That's my opinion. That's not the opinion of the podcast. That's my personal opinion.
What number is Matty Nichols?
He's number 15. He's the one with the shaved head.
Yeah, he's the one that when we played Carlton at Marvel Stadium with the roof open back in 2019, one of the Carlton fans called him a bald-headed something that rhymes with maggot. And it wasn't a very nice name. Then he said, "Oh no, I called him a flog." Well, flog only has one syllable, dickhead.
Yeah, not keen for personally abusing the umpires, and I wish no ill will towards him. It's just every time I see him personally listed, I go, "Oh."
Yeah.
I have the same feeling with umpire number 32, Jacob Mollison, the Richmond supporter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but you know what? Every club thinks that there's this one umpire that hates their club and likes this other particular club. Yes. Remember the WA umpire that the Freo fans used to say, "Oh, he's got posters of Eagles players on his wall and his wife works for him." I'm trying to think what his name was, but then there's Stevic and his Hawthorn relationship and.
Well, yeah, Stevic's also selected in our game, and I actually do like Stevic a lot. So that they neutralise each other in my mind. Yeah,
and James Hird got fined that time for saying that he thought Darren Goldspink was a Hawthorn supporter.
Yeah, I'm not going to mention which umpires I think have gotten it out for the Lion, but there's two of them, and every time I say their numbers, I'm just like, oh.
Look, are any of them in this game right now?
No.
I don't think any particular umpire has any particular grudge against any particular team.
I'm sure they don't.
Ultimately,
I'm sure they don't. Well, they're incredibly professional. It just doesn't always come across like that. Yeah,
sometimes it feels weird, and we hate them. I reckon every supporter of every single club reckons that every umpire and the AFL are dead set against their club winning. And 100%. Yeah, and even when you get the rubber to green, you're still coming out going, the bloody green maggots. They're no good.
Mine's like when it's one, and there is one of those two in particular that whenever it's at his end, I know, well, we're not getting anything. And then the next quarter, that didn't get paid last quarter. Why is it getting paid this quarter? Magic. But as I said, I'm not having a crack at anyone, so I'm not going to mention names or numbers. I see them and I'm like, ugh. I'm just wiping off one end of the ground.
Back in 2018, the game after Dane Beams lost the captaincy, and I'm going to say lost, he didn't give it up. But anyway, David Noble accidentally let us slip in an interview one day that he lost the captaincy, he didn't give it up. So I'm running with that. We played the Bulldogs at Marvel Stadium, and one of the umpires was an ex-Carlton player. Might have been Bannister, maybe.
Yeah.
And some people sitting nearby to the cheer squad were absolutely ripping him a new one because Billy Gowers was getting all these free kicks in the goal square, and Billy Gowers is not that good.
Yeah. I
know his dad played for us, but we didn't draft him because he's not that good. But he was getting all these free kicks in the goal square, and Mr. Bannister was getting abused. He turned around. He's looked at one of the blokes that abused him, got this big cheesy grin on his face, held up his whistle, and then it's jogged off, and we're like, we are so screwed right now. I was like, guys, shut the hell up. He's going to crucify us now.
Oh.
And interestingly, I spoke to an umpire who also was a former policeman as well, down on the surf coast near where I live one day, and I just joked with him how, geez, you bloody blokes never give the Brisbane Lions anything. And he goes, look, in the period that I was umpiring from 2006 to 2014, you blokes were no good, so you just didn't get anything because you just got nowhere. You got nowhere near where the ball was or the opposition players. And I was like, you know what? That's pretty fair comment, mate. I'll pay that.
That's not entirely wrong.
I didn't have to be your enemy. You were your own worst enemy.
Well, we were terrible. And I blame it all on trading Acker.
Yeah. Took us a long time to right the ship after that, didn't it?
He's back on board, though, even though he hates Dare to Beat the Bear.
No, it was the devil for Bev, I reckon.
Look, we went through back in the Premiership era what Richmond are now going through. We just didn't have the draft picks to pick anyone up the top end, and we traded for the now as well.
Imagine giving away Jack Crisp as a freaking steak knife.
Oh, yeah, that was a bit later on. But, yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone knew what Jack Crisp was going to become. He's a bloody gun now.
I mean, to be fair, his partner's family are all diehard Collingwood supporters. So,
you know what's ironic, though, like just about that exact thing? So no one was really that upset about Jack Crisp leaving, and look at his output. But everyone was devastated about, certain players like Jared Pollock and those kind of guys leaving, and it's like, well, only two of those, go home five actually had decent careers.
My dad chucked a massive tantrum over Patrick Carney's just going to Collingwood. He thought he was the second coming of Michael Voss. He just thought the sun shone out of his derriere.
He was the first of the five to end their careers, wasn't he?
Yeah, I reckon he only played about 5 games. Billy Longer was serviceable at the Saints, but that was about it.
Yeah.
I think it just was all at once, and it just felt like, well, there's all of our recruiting gone up the creek for 5 or 6 years. What the hell have we done? Like,
yeah, we got a glimpse of what it was like to be the Suns for the last 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's turning around for them now, and for the Giants, they're retaining players, and the so-called big Victorian clubs are now chasing West Australians and South Australians. So
they're just picking for the local talent.
And I would hate to be Richmond this week playing Collingwood after the media have absolutely crucified Collingwood. They've crucified Craig McRae. They've crucified the day job brothers. You thought I was going to say it then, didn't you?
Jeez, that tip jar's overflowing, mate.
I didn't say it.
I was just waiting for it to drop.
I was just messing with you. And like they've absolutely been. And just pretty much every player except for Jack Crisp has been copying it.
Yeah.
All week. I reckon they're going to come out and they are going to absolutely murder Richmond, and it's not going to be pretty.
Well, I can't see Richmond beating them, but at the same time, I thought that they were going to have that kind of game last week because they copped it last week too. And I was like, well, surely this is the week that they have a big game.
This has gone to a whole other level. This is now season over. McRae needs to be under review.
He just won a premiership.
They've got 9 guys over the age of 30. They need to delist all 9 of them, and probably another 12.
Yeah,
it's like
I don't go anywhere near delisting our over 30s. Like, compare and contrast what we're going to delist Lockie Neal or Charlie Cameron, who turned 30 a couple of weeks ago. Like, that doesn't just because you're 30 doesn't mean you're not a great player.
Yeah, look, over 30s can be good at their sport. I mean, look at me. Second in the club championship 2 seasons ago.
You're a bit over 30, aren't you?
You're only as young as the woman you feel, as they say, and
that's it. My wife's the same age as me.
There you go. But keep it classy, mate, all right?
Hey. You started it.
Anyway, I'm just waiting for Dane Beams to now come out on X, formerly Twitter, or Instagram, whichever it is, that he uses and say that Craig McRae was comprehensively outcoached in the grand final last year, and that he's the reason that their club's no good.
Well, he hates Fagan more than he would say that, though. So
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he had a bit to say about Nathan Buckley as well, but I mean, it wasn't Bucks' fault that Beamsy didn't have a good second bite of the Collingwood cherry. I think he had a bit to do with that himself. He had all to do with it himself. So
I'm really hoping someone writes a book about, Beams himself would be a great start. If he writes a book about what happened, about leaving the Lions and joining Collingwood. I mean, we've heard rumours. We've heard some pretty credible rumours, but I'd love to hear the actual truth. And not saying that him writing a book would be the truth, but I would just like to hear some behind the scenes.
Hear his viewpoint.
I'm not saying reading a book written by Dane Beams would be readable either. Be a lot of pictures in there.
Yeah, it's pop-up.
Definitely gross written.
Yeah. So let's play a bit of 6 degrees of separation between us and the Suns. And I'm not going to go first this time. Deb, you're first. Question without notice. Give us
Tom
2 degrees.
Jared Berry's brother and also used to play for the Lions. That's such an easy win.
Oh, so hard to come up with that one.
Okay. We'll pretend that one didn't count then. Let's go Pierce Hanley, who used to play at the Lions and then went down to the Suns.
Yeah.
All right, I've got 2.
That one made me sad. And a bonus, Dane Zorko, who should have been drafted to the Suns because he was in their catchment and they passed on that. So thanks, Gold Coast. Appreciate that one.
Dane Zorko, Andrew McLeod and Matthew Pavlich all didn't end up at their home club because they chose other people who they thought would be more appropriate. Look how all those 3 turned out. What do you got, Al?
I'm going to go with Jared Brennan.
Yep. Mercurial. You can't say Jared Brennan without saying the mercurial Jared Brennan.
Of course. One of his many titles.
And
and the one I was particularly devastated about, former club champion Michael Riscatelli.
Yes. Yep.
Literally reigning champion as he left. That was a bit of a punch in the gut.
Yeah.
That was the bowler trade, thanks.
Yeah, he was meant to be the steak knives, him and Daniel Bradshaw for the original Favola trade. Yeah, Vossi. Yeah.
Anyway, your turn, Ash.
Yeah.
Bringing up old memories. Painful.
Yeah.
Painful memories. Those ones hurt.
Who you got?
So I haven't necessarily got people. I've got a couple of games.
Oh, okay.
Chris Fagan's first game as senior coach for points. We led by 52-ish points some point in the second quarter. And all was well. And I thought, how bloody good are we? I was out to dinner and I was sneaking a look over on the TV in the background, watching it, thinking, yep. And if you've seen the movie Coming to America when Eddie Murphy's at the basketball game, take away the part that led up to it, his celebration was me at one point. It was my favourite part of the game, and we won by 2 points in the end. We nearly lost it.
That was in your mouth. That was another in your mouth game. What the heck are we? Oh,
A round 1 Q clash is such a weird fixturing decision.
Yeah. And I'm just going to throw in a bonus one before I get to my second one, because we love a good cowboy hat.
Of course.
Stewie Jew's first pineapple grapple, him and Fagan posing with these bloody massive 10-gallon cowboy hats that were too big for their heads and just looked bloody ridiculous.
Yeah, that was a bit silly.
And I'm pretty sure the one that Fagan had on is the one that Tom Fullerton wore with his rhinestone shirt.
I was going to say, if you say cowboy hat 3 times in the mirror, Tom Fullerton appears behind you.
Playing a game of Bloody Mary, are we?
well, that's okay. He's not appearing anytime soon for the Demons, so guess he's got to show up
Demons
somewhere.
appearing anytime soon either.
Yeah, and so my other one is in the same year, 2017.
Yep.
The return bout at I'm pretty sure it was called Metricon Stadium at that year.
Yep.
Who knows?
Mm.
I don't even think they know anymore.
The Suns definitely don't know, no.
No. We were getting absolutely flogged in the first half. Alex Sexton had 4. He was all over Nick Robertson, giving him an absolute towel up. And we ended up winning that game. And who do you reckon kicked the goal that absolutely signaled to the Suns that we were going to win? Nick Robertson. And he turned around Alex Sexton with a big grin on his face and just said, "Enjoy the ride, son."
That was a great game to be at.
I miss having Nick Robertson on the team.
I know.
Bloody lovely bloke.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's just recently come back from an injury out at East Perth and sort of working his way back up to senior level. East Perth are on top of the waffle ladder at the moment, I believe, so it's a hard team to break into. But, yeah, keep it going. Robbo, we love you.
Mm-hmm.
Well said.
Such a good watch.
Yeah. All right. How do we see this game panning out on Saturday? In fact, before we do that,
Mm.
all right, so Al, you can just go have yourself a craft beer, mate.
You try and stop me, mate.
Yeah, bloody oath. And bloody Abby's going to jump into your bloody seat. And
Yep.
Deb and Abby are going to give us a wrap-up of our VFL win from last weekend.
Beauty.
And you can come back after you finish your craft beer and your deconstructed tofu burger.
This could take a while. I've got to truly appreciate the art forms.
You've got to sip it, don't scull it.
Yeah, of course. I'm a civilized man, as everyone knows.
Save it a flavour, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us a bit about the VFL?
Oh, God. So we had a really interesting game this week. So we ended up winning again just over the Swans or VFL side, whatever we want to call them. But we started poorly in this game. So the first quarter at the end, the score was 50-25 in the Swans' favour. But we kept and it felt like the whole game we would we'd catch up to them and then the Swans would sort of go back out for a couple of goals and then we'd catch up to them and then the Swans would go out. So it was a very interesting game to watch. Another one that I think was a little bit impacted by the wind, just because it was brutally cold on Saturday. But a huge shout out to Logan Morris, who kicked 4 goals in the VFL. So
good
to see that his omittance has had a little bit of a return.
Yeah, and Will McLaughlin kicked some goals as well.
Yeah, I saw that he kicked 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all in all, I think we played well enough to win. I don't think we played well enough to sort of stamp our credentials over anything major. It was very much it was by 5 points. I felt like the Swans were in front until we sort of came back just in the start of the fourth quarter. The whole fourth quarter, I think there wasn't really much done or scored after halfway through. It was just very much a tit for tat sort of deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were just consistently better after quarter time. Prior to quarter time, absolutely terrible.
I think normally if you score 25 points in the first quarter, you kind of think, oh, that's not too bad. But when the other team scores 50, that really puts you on the back foot because that's generally a halftime score. But so, yeah, we obviously outscored Sydney for the rest of the game.
Oh, massively.
Yeah. What other players sort of stood out and were noticeable across the... Looks like Darcy Fort and Jackson Pryor had good games.
So Darcy Fort played a blinder. I would have argued he was best on ground. I'm not sure how many disposals he ended up having.
Yeah, he had
but
23.
His hit out work was just insane.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he absolutely dominated hit outs.
47-26 up against Lockie McAndrew.
There we go. Not too bad for someone who hasn't actually read the match report for it. Jackson Pryor, I'm pretty sure he got 30 plus disposals, and every single one of his disposals was a kick.
So
Because they were making a running joke of the fact that, I wonder if he'll get 30 disposals, and that's his 29th disposal for his 29th kick. So it was a running joke in the fourth quarter.
33 kicks, 6 marks, 0 handballs.
Yep, there we go.
Yeah.
So, I think between them, Fort, Pryor, and Logan were probably our best 3 on ground. I'm not sure if the stats reflect that overall, but that was just my personal viewpoint. I thought Jared Lyons played pretty solidly, but he's been pretty solid in the sort of VFL. And as you said, Will McLaughlin, who's one of the kids that we picked up, got 3 goals. So that was really pleasing to see.
Yeah, Lyons got 8 clearances, which is his forte.
There we go. I'm not too wrong. I'm pretty sure Darcy had another game where it was very similar to Oscar's, where he also had a ridiculous 9 or 10 clearances himself.
So
because he seemed to be picking up a lot of his own ball.
Darcy fought 9 clearances.
There we go.
Jared Lyons 8, and then the next best for us was Jimmy Tunstall with 4.
Not bad for someone who hasn't, as I said, actually Carlton won.
Oh, well, it is what it is. Did Dev Robertson play a full game, or was he only playing part of the game?
He was playing part of the game, but I thought he was good when he was on.
Yeah, so 12 disposals, 8 handballs out of those 12.
Yep.
3 tackles, 4 clearances out of the 12 as well, so that's pretty strong. Perhaps maybe he was an emergency for our game.
I'm not quite. Yeah, when I saw him on, and again, another one. What's he done with his hair?
Haven't seen it.
It took me a while to realize it was Dev, and I'm like, what are you all doing? Stop playing silly buggers with your hair.
Yeah,
honestly.
I haven't seen it lately, actually. So,
it looks like a piece of broccoli on top of his head.
Looks like Noah Answorth got a bit of the ball.
Yep, Noah was fantastic in defence. Yep. So between him and Jackson, I would argue Jackson was our better defender on the day.
Yep, 25 disposals, 5 tackles, 86 ranking points, which is pretty good for a defender. Mm-hmm. Just having a bit of a look now through the stats. So Carter Michael got a concussion or a broken nose as well.
Poor bugger, he's just come back from injury.
Yeah, the poor guy, he just can't get a break, can he?
Yep.
Yeah, it looks like Luke Beacon must have had a pretty good game as well.
Mm-hmm.
Kicked a goal, which is always handy when a halfbacker kicks a goal.
Yep.
And my boy Ewan McPherson got a goal. He's I think he's an academy boy.
Could be. Yeah. I'm not as across. I'm not as across our draftees as some others who are far more versed in that than I am.
Our first game of the season in the VFL down at the hangar in Essendon, the kids and I went to watch, and we saw this bloke with number 54 running around. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? We got no idea. He wasn't even on the stats list at that stage. And one of our listeners actually pointed out to me during that week, that's Ewan McPherson. He's from the academy, and he's he's from Sherwood Football Club. But I could be wrong.
Okay.
I could be wrong because we had a few guys from Sherwood for the first couple of weeks. So I've just sort of kept an eye on him for the rest of the season, and he looks like he's a pretty handy sort of guy. He's played down back and forward, so
yep.
And there was a bloke playing for Sydney called Matty Lloyd. How unfortunate for him. Yeah.
Yep.
So do you think anybody showed enough to sort of get themselves promoted, or we keep the team we got? Where do you see it?
I'd debate between Logan and Henry, but that's just I'd prefer Logan into the side, but that's a me thing, not an anyone else thing. I think the only other thing I I liked not seeing Connor in the side today.
So yeah, maybe he's carrying something. That's why he wasn't around. Hopefully, he didn't have a dummy spit and walk off, like he did at Essendon a few years ago. So
I just, yeah, if we were going to bring someone else back into the side, I'd probably bring Noah back ahead of Connor. I think Noah's form in the VFL today was, particularly coming off injury, like there were some good stats, and he just looked effective when he had the ball.
if you were to bring him back in, who would you bring him in for?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Tough breaking into that back line at the moment. Unless you're 6'5" or taller.
I'll put a pin in that to see if there's any actual injuries that have come out of this game.
Yeah. What did you think of the game, Abby? Did you watch any of it?
No. I didn't have enough time.
She's like, I have things to do, Dad, on the weekend. Don't blame you. But again, there were two games where we were playing teams that, played exceptionally well, and then we managed to claw it back, and yeah.
Character building wins. They're the ones you want.
Character building wins. That's a really good word for it. And we're third on the ladder.
Yep, that's good. So
official.
Yep. Very, very good. I'm gonna do a Toyota jump. Well, we're not even sponsored by Toyota. We're sponsored by Hyundai these days, aren't we?
Have been for a while.
I'll go do a Hyundai jump after I take my headphones off. So in the VFL next week, we play the Suns at 12:50 p.m. Brisbane time, Gold Coast time, however you want to put it.
And that's at People First Stadium. So that's it's
a double header.
It's a double header. So if you're getting down for the Suns game, try and get down for that. I know our plan is to try and get down a bit early to watch maybe the end of the game. I don't think we'll get there for the start. I've got other things I need to do in the morning, but yeah, get down and support the boys.
Yeah, so that should be a good one. The Suns, I'm not sure how the Suns are going at VFL level. Obviously, they were pretty good last year, but yeah, hopefully everybody can get down for that, and also for the AFL game, which is as well on the Saturday.
Yep.
Let me just get back into the AFL fixture. The AFL app's really fun to deal with, let's face it.
Yep.
Yep, just we're still here, listeners. We haven't hung up the phone. So 4:35 at People First Stadium for the AFL as well. So yeah, I reckon that just about sums everything up.
Yeah.
Just before we do once again go into the how we think the Suns game is going to go, and this is not a laughing matter or a funny moment. So one of my youngest sister, Collingwood supporter, can't help who you're related to. At my dad's funeral, as the coffin was being taken away in the hearse, she ran up, put three little things on top of the coffin, and they were those little micro figures, that you used to get in the little foil packets. She put three on there. There was a Charlie Cameron, who my dad absolutely loved. There was a Joe Danaher, who my dad absolutely loved even more. And there was a little gold one, those little gold ones they had?
Yeah.
And it was a man that he loved the most out of all of our current players, Dane Zorko.
Oh, I love that.
And they've gone to heaven with my dad. The micro figures, not the real guys.
I hope not the real ones, but and the fact that she's done that despite the fact that she supports another team, like that is super sweet.
Yeah, and when the one of the ladies directing the funeral went to grab him off the top, my sister absolutely flipped her shit and said, "Don't you dare touch them." That's the one thing we had together when it came to football. So there you go. All right, into the game. Who wants to go first? Not me.
Deb, you go. Ladies first.
I don't know. Like,
You're
I'm
such a gentleman.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Al. I honestly don't know. I'm having such horror flashbacks of last year, which was really hard to watch. It just felt like we sort of switched off after halftime last year. But I also think that there's going to be a bit of a mentality that we're going to do it for the boys that can't play.
Yeah.
I think we will probably see Hippie more likely down the back than Joe.
If one of them has to go down there, I would assume so, yeah.
I've got a little bit of a theory on that.
The intercept marks.
Mm.
And he does that up the ground a lot more than Joe does. So I think he plays a little bit more of a defensive mindset in general anyway. I think it's either going to be a super, super, super close game and they will just get up, or I think we'll win by 3 or 4 goals.
I like the second option.
You got to pick one. You can't have two predictions.
We don't sit on the fence here.
We're going to win because I believe in our team. We're going to win by 3 or 4 goals.
Beauty.
That's my prediction.
I like it.
Yep.
All right, what do you got, Al?
Age before beauty, mate.
You're you're more beautiful and younger than me, so you get to go first.
All right. So, look, I've been thinking about this one over the last week, even before the Swans game, and it was one that I wasn't too concerned about when I was looking at the run home, after the bye. But geez, as it gets closer, I got more and more nervous, and the amount of injuries that have piled up to just one specific region of the field, just our defensive unit. I'm getting a little bit more nervous. I still don't really rate the Suns that much as a team. I think they probably have their closest chance of making the finals this year that they've had. But still, I think we win. I think we break their home winning streak, even with our makeshift sticky tape together defensive line. But I think it's probably not going to be a blowout because it's going to be a tough battle. I'm thinking 8 points, and my prediction is that we will see some glimpses of Henry Smith that will make us think, okay, there's something there. There's something there. He's not necessarily that he's arrived and that he's ready to go, but definitely worth persevering with, and we can see the green grass in the future with him.
Yeah, I'm down with all that.
All the fingers for that to happen.
And toes. Yeah. All right. My turn?
Of course.
Look, I am going a bit rogue on the key defender. I have a feeling Eric Hipwood will spend some time down there, but maybe not necessarily matched up on anyone in particular, more as the spare, as they like to call it, or in actual coaching terms, it's usually referred to as a +1. But I think Jared Berry takes fullback or centre halfback.
Oh.
Okay. And I think Rayner goes down to give a chop out as well, which is the reason why Logan Morris has been brought back in.
He did spend a little bit of time in defence.
I thought he played okay, but he got crucified for it. But I thought he played okay in those 3 or 4 games. But I think, Rayner's got it's more so because him and Berry have got the body. They're big body, they're strong. They can hurt guys without being dirty, but also they can break tackles, they can bust packs. And, Berry's 6'5". He's not a small man.
That's true.
Yeah, 192. He's smaller than some of the developing keys we have in the VFL, technically.
But, he's solid, but he's been named on a halfback flank as well. I did notice that.
Yeah.
And, but I think with Morris coming back in, Morris and Rayner can't work in the same forward line at the moment because they're still learning to work together. Plus, you've got Henry Smith up there as well. I think Rayner either pushes into the mids and someone else pushes back to help out from the mids, maybe a Dunkley, or Rayner just goes down back as to be that wingman or midfielder who drops back into the hole.
I could see any and all of those things happening, to be honest. And I don't think it'll be any one thing. I think it'll be a lot of guys taking turns.
Yeah. And I think it's just going to be, we'll just keep shuffling until either something clicks or like throughout the game, or it's just going to be a shuffle to keep them on their toes because they don't know who they're matching up against. That also might throw a bit of a chaos spanner into the works on the Suns' end as well.
Yeah, and one of the things too, I've always had this theory, and Richmond did it back in, I think it was about 2019, where they had probably 7 or 8 of their top 10 players out one game, and they went over to Adelaide Oval and absolutely flogged Port Adelaide, who were flying at the time. And I have this theory that when teams have a lot of outs through injury, they rally more.
Yeah.
And guys who don't normally have a big role suddenly have to play a big role, and they know it. Yeah, and I think
also on that front, Lockie and Dunks have both just had their down game, so they're good for like another 4 games to be like absolute top notch.
What's interesting you say that about Dunks, and you and I both said that last episode that we thought he played probably his worst game of the year.
Was still a good game.
There was a lot of talk in like sort of in the footy media that he played this massively awesome defensive role that the coaches loved. So I guess it's about perspective sometimes, isn't it? You see what you see.
But Dunks has always played that defensive, particularly in our midfield, has definitely played the more defensive midfielder role. As I said, I don't think he was up to the same output levels that he has done previously, but that doesn't mean that he had a bad game.
No.
It just, his standard is so high that when he doesn't hit that level, it's, he was great. He was excellent.
We've said this about a few guys throughout the year where they didn't necessarily have a bad game, but it was their worst game of the year statistically, or, like Ryan Lester gave up 3 goals one game when he actually had a good game, but 3 goals is 3 goals, and that could have been the difference.
Ryan, don't do that this week.
0 goals, Froggy. 0 goals.
We're going to be completely reliant on him, aren't we? Way more than we ever have before.
How ironic is that too?
Yeah. He's the guy down the back. He's the general, if you will.
And I hope he's captain. Absolutely owns this because he has had some really purple patches of form. And I would love, like, you saw Zorks go down into defence when we were plugging holes earlier in the year, and he's just absolutely owned that. I would love to see Froggy own it this week.
Yeah, I reckon he will. He was in the leadership group for a lot of years for a reason, wasn't he?
He's just so much love.
And I think he's going to be a future senior coach as well.
I'd love to see that.
Mark that one in your diaries, folks.
Wait, depends who he's coaching. Don't do a fly and then, be a loved player and then go and coach Collingwood. Please don't.
Don't forget that he also coached Richmond to a VFL premiership.
Yeah, that's true.
That I can forgive.
Nah, I can't because my team lost that grand final by under a goal.
Oh, ouch. Under a goal?
Yeah, same margin in both grand finals that Macrae has won against clubs that I support. So, yeah. And look, I'm tipping Joey Danaher to have a big one in some capacity. He showed glimpses of it last week, and he copped a bit of criticism for apparently not turning up after quarter time, but I still thought he was pretty good in patches.
Yeah, I don't think it was that extreme. I think it was just he had such a really good first quarter that everything else was a bit quiet comparatively. Yeah,
and that goes back to what we were saying before about Leicester in that game where he got 3 goals kicked on him, but still had a really good game for the majority of it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's the last impression someone makes is the one you remember the most. Even though they say first impressions last, they don't. You remember the last thing.
True.
Well, Joey's first 3 goals impressed me, so
he was on fire. He could have had 4 too. He was just absolutely on fire. And
that kick. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Honestly. But, it's kind of like the Richmond semi-final. He kicked the winning goal and nobody really remembers who kicked what anywhere else on that game except that goal. So
I can remember 2 goal kickers from that night. That goal and Darcy Wilmot.
Oh, that was his first ever goal. That was just fantastic.
I woke up to a message in my inbox from Stacey because she was a bit critical of him getting picked.
Yes.
And I can't repeat the first word, but it rhymes with truck, and the second word was you. After that goal, I woke up and I've looked at my phone, and because famously, as we all know, I was working night shift at the time, and I looked at my phone and I'm going, why is Stacey saying that to me? And then I looked at the goal kicking list and I was like, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. So anyway, like you guys, I'm predicting a pretty low margin. I don't know. I'm going to say 13 points our way.
It's respectable.
Yeah. But I think it's going to be under a goal for the majority. Guys. Yeah, what are you doing? You've just frozen up on me.
Oh, yeah, no, my speaker system disconnected to my car despite the fact that I haven't moved.
Oh, you've had that happen before.
It happens to me all the time.
Yes.
It's nuts.
Yeah. I think we were having a late night chat one night and it happened.
So annoying. I'm like, what is...
You two and your technology issues, honestly.
First world problems. First world problems.
Oh, yeah. So the very last words my dad said to me the last time I spoke to him were, believe in what you feel in your heart and do what you got to do. And for me, they ring really true at the moment for the boys who've got running out on the weekend against the Suns.
Yeah.
Believe in yourselves, boys, and whatever your job is, just go out and do it. No one expects you to be
Harris Andrews.
Well, I was going to say Michael Voss or, Hayden Button Jr. or Kevin Murray or anyone this weekend. We all just want to see you guys go out and have a crack and do your job. We know you're going to be up against it, but hey, we've won games against the odds so many times, and the Suns aren't, as Al said, they're not that good.
But we won against the Suns when we were missing half our forward line.
Yeah, but if the Suns do win, they're obviously premiership favourites. I'm putting it out there right now.
Well, I mean, that's the best thing. We've got our best forwards. We've got our best mids. It's just going to be the mids are going to have to work a bit harder to not let, there be this massive influx coming their way for the defenders who are inexperienced by comparison to what we are missing.
Yeah.
And so it's just going to be a matter of everyone else is just going to have to step up a little bit more than what they were expecting.
That's it. And Motti as well, speaking of Motti, he can play taller as well. He's probably a bit taller than what we realise.
He's also got a good leap on him.
Yeah, he's got long arms. Sorry. Back up. He's got long levers.
Go gadget arms.
Yeah. Takes the ball at its highest point.
He took a couple of speckies
In times that absolutely were critical. But also, Shadow Rain did the exact same. Did anyone see the social media post where it was an injury update and it was for the Sharon? Oh my God, my heart stopped.
Yeah.
On him too.
That.
It was, but it was just an injury update for the ball because he punched the crap out of it.
But God, it was good. Social media team, I know you copped a whack from us a couple of weeks ago, but that was absolutely on point.
And big shout out to Shads as well. He did a bit of media work this week and I like the way he goes about it.
Yeah.
Have spoken to him in person a couple of times at VFL games and I'm glad they've given him a bit of a rundown media streak because he does speak well and he's a pretty cluey guy on footy as well. Yeah. So
he stood up when we needed him to last week against Bonds.
He did.
So I'm really excited. And that was only his second full game. So I'm really excited to see how he goes this week with so many outs because it just gives him more of an opportunity to prove himself.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we've covered everything that we need to cover for the game. And we're probably going to have to wrap up because I need to get this out by the morning.
Yep.
For our lovely listeners. any final thoughts before we get going?
No, I don't think so. Also, we should probably touch on the fact that the VFL is playing this weekend.
That's mentioned in our VFL report.
Oh, okay. Well, I wasn't there for that.
That's in the middle of this episode. Yeah, you have it.
I was not there, mate. I was doing my craft beers and my deconstructed hamburgers.
Was it like a squire's loft or something like that?
Yeah, well, I was grooming my beard, mate. It just takes too long.
Oiling your beard and then grooming it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it right. So,
yeah, of course.
I'm just going to touch wood and say no ACLs, please.
Oh, God.
Yeah, look, no injuries at all.
I did actually touch wood when I did that, so, I didn't curse us.
6 and 12 months, surely that's enough for a while.
Yeah, and
enough for 10 years, surely.
To back up what I said on the last episode as well, this year is and I hate to say it's a record year, but it is a record year for the most ACL ruptures across the entire league. It's just incredibly bad, and I still think the grounds are all too hard.
Mm.
And I want to have a crack at the media too, just before we do go. This is my final thought.
Yeah.
Like, they ran with this narrative that Geelong were whinging about their ground being muddy this week, and that they weren't allowed to train on their ground at Cardinia Park. They don't train at Cardinia Park. They train at Deakin University over the other side of Geelong, where they have two state-of-the-art ovals, one the size of the MCG, one the size of Marvel. And both my kids have played on the Marvel-sized one before. Beautiful surfaces. But they were unavailable because in the last couple of weeks, because there were some Olympic athletes doing some last-minute work with Deakin University to get themselves ready for Paris. So media, don't let the truth get in the way of a good load of bullshit, will you?
Mm-hmm.
It's true. And we should also mention the fact that that the Olympics have started, and best of luck to all the Aussies out there. Yeah,
so the Aussie Rugby Sevens have already won 2 games against teams that have never played rugby before, so we are the champions.
Yep.
But shout out to a friend of the podcast, Jessica Fox, who's the Australian female flag bearer.
Oh, beauty.
Is she a friend of yours?
No, you always say she's a friend of the podcast, so I was just
that's Britt Cox, the skier.
Oh,
but we'll claim Jessica Fox because she's bloody awesome.
Well, shout out, she's the female flag bearer for Australia. So
yeah, and Eddie, the hockey player Eddie, Karen told me about him last night.
Hocken something.
Yeah, I don't follow hockey. Sorry. My apologies to any hockey fans out there.
Yeah.
And I reckon that'll do us.
Yeah, the only Olympic connection I have is my great uncle Wally Patterson was a Olympic gold medalist in weightlifting in the 50s.
Wow.
Nice.
Yes.
See, that's why you're so strong.
That's it, mate. It's all in the genes.
And in the new Shift Talk episode, which is now out, I do mention that a family member of mine competed at 2 Olympics, but I can't mention her name or what sport she played because I shared one of her dirty little secrets about a female sports team.
Cheeky.
I
don't have any family members, but one of the girls I went to school with in my year, she was my house captained Australia to the first ever rugby 7 women's gold medal in Rio. So that's pretty cool.
Bloody legend. And I think a relative of mine might have competed at the 98 Commonwealth Games the year cricket was in it.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't know if he was there, but he was around the team at the time. And
Looking forward to being in the Olympics soon.
Well, that was the year that an actual Cobra went onto the ground when Australia was playing, I don't know, Malaysia or someone. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that'll do us. Anyone need to stick around after I stop recording?
No.
Not particularly. Go Lions and go Australia.
Go Lions, go Australia.
And go Lions and whoever's playing against Collingwood and Carlton, and go all the countries of my ancestors that are competing at the Olympics. including this one that we live in,
Hooroo.
except for England,
I was about to say.
because they have moral victories. All right, let's get out of here.
Bye,
Okay.
guys.
All right,
Bye, guys.
see ya.
This episode was produced by Steel Hat Productions. Please follow us and enable notifications to get our latest episodes anywhere podcasts are available. And don't forget to give us a 5-star review.